Hey, everybody. I know this is a very different beginning to our usual video, but I needed to issue an apology. And the apology is for being wrong. I have to be transparent, and I've got to tell you the truth. So earlier today, on this Wednesday, April 16th, we went live at 3 p.m., as we always do, Eastern Time on YouTube. And we talked about Mike Vrabel, Ryan Cowden, and Eliot Wolf, that trio, and whether or not we trusted that trio to thrive in next weekend's draft. Well, I made a huge gaffe, big time mistake. And I don't know who put the comment in because I had to delete the prior podcast, the live podcast that we did for obvious reasons, which you'll learn in a minute. But I want to thank the person who threw the comment in and said, hey, wait a minute. Didn't John Robinson run the 2022 Tennessee Titans draft? Yes, he did. I made the mistake saying that Ryan Cowden and Mike Vrabel ran the 2022 Titans draft. Could not be more wrong. John Robinson ran that draft. Robinson was then fired in December of 2022, and Ryan Cowden was named the interim GM to finish out the rest of that 2022 season. And then in 2023, Rand Carthon was hired by Tennessee's ownership group, and Cowden got surpassed, leapfrogged. That's why Mike Vrabel got upset. Mike Vrabel then was fired at the end of the 2023 season. Carthon stayed on as the GM, and then Carthon was fired after last season. So totally my fault, completely inexcusable. Hopefully those who watched that episode, there was 400 people or so that already watched the episode on YouTube. There was about 100 people on Spotify. Hopefully those people watch this video and get this apology. I'm sorry. I edited the original version of the podcast. I took out the 2022 information because it was dead wrong. Again, inexcusable. But this episode is still a lot of fun, still a lot of information and thought going into this podcast. So I hope that you all enjoy this podcast in the edited version. Don't be freaked out by some of the jumping. There are some edits made. And again, I apologize. I will not screw up like that again. Hopefully. Apologies. I appreciate every single one of you. Now let's get to that podcast. What's happening? Thanks for joining me on this hump day. It is very much appreciated. The next goal for us, and we have 8 days to reach the goal, 6,600 subscribers by round one of the NFL draft. So make sure you subscribe. We hit our goal of 6,500 last episode. I appreciate every single one of you. Speaking of the draft, Mike Vrabel previewed the event yesterday with the media. Lots to cover. I went over that. And 3 critical takeaways for the Locked On Patriots podcast. You can check that out on the Locked On Podcast Network. There has been lots and lots said about the prospects of this draft, the guys that we might see the Patriots draft, and the good and the bad, the pros and the cons. A lot of attention paid to the actual prospects, the draftees. And I get it. That's what we do. But today, I want to actually put the attention towards who's going to be making the draft picks in 8 days from now. Who's going to be making these decisions? We know it's going to be Mike Vrabel at the tippity top, then Ryan Cowden, Eliot Wolf. And I want to talk about that trio. There's lots of trust in Mike Vrabel. Lots of people believe that Vrabel knows what he's doing, that he understands the game of football at a high level, and a high enough level to not only be a head coach, but also the football czar. There's lots of trust in Vrabel. And I believe in Vrabel's vision for the program. I believe that he does a good job of describing what he's looking for to Cowden and Eliot Wolf. I believe that Vrabel can build a program. And I believe that he's a very good head coach. But drafting players is a different gig. It's not being a coach. It's not building the program. It's evaluating and drafting the right kind of talent. And so my question for all of you today is whether or not you believe that this Patriots brain trust, of Vrabel, Cowden, and Wolf, do you think the Patriots brain trust will thrive next week at the NFL draft? Do you believe in these guys? Do you trust these guys? Do you think that they're going to thrive during a very, very critical 3 days for this organization? I hope so. I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic with the mix of Vrabel and Cowden and Wolf. But there's no way on God's green earth that I can sit here and tell all of you right now on this Wednesday, April 16th, 2025, there's no way I can sit here and tell you that I trust the fact that Vrabel, Cowden, and Wolf will thrive during the NFL draft. I can't trust them enough. Not at this point. I take you back to last year when we talked about Eliot Wolf. He had never been the shot caller. He had never been the number one guy in a front office. And I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I didn't trust that he was going to do awesome. I didn't sit there and guarantee that he was going to do awesome. I gave him the benefit of the doubt, understanding that he might not be good. He might be great. We just don't know. And I'm going to give much of the same to this trio. I'm going to give Vrabel and Cowden and Wolf at least a slice of that benefit of the doubt from last year. But I can't tell you that they're going to be awesome. I don't necessarily trust them just yet. They've got to earn my trust. I think they've got to earn your trust. And if they do earn it, then we'll talk about them killing this draft and thriving and making the right picks and making the right decisions. But I can't tell you right off the bat that these guys are going to be great at what they do, because resume matters. What they've done in the past, when they've been in positions to make the final call, what does that resume look like? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it somewhere in between? Vrabel's never been the guy. Now, he's had a heavy hand in some of the decision-making process for sure when he was down in Tennessee, but he never was the guy. He never had the title of GM. He never, went out there and had these press conferences during the John Robinson years like he had yesterday when he's talking about the draft, which certainly tells us, once again, the latest example of why Mike Vrabel is at the top of this program and why Mike Vrabel is the guy that's making the final decision, because he is out there giving that press conference yesterday. You look around the NFL and you see all the other GMs holding that press conference that Vrabel held yesterday, speaking to the media about the draft. That's usually a GM's job, president of football operations, whatever the title is. But yesterday, it was the head coach of the Patriots, because that's what Vrabel is going to do. He's going to make these decisions. He's going to have the final say. And Vrabel has, to my knowledge, never truly been the guy with the white hot light on him to make these final decisions. So I don't know if I can trust Mike Vrabel during a draft of whether or not he's going to draft the right guy at the right time. Ryan Cowden was the interim GM for Tennessee in 2022. Then we think about Eliot Wolf last year. We've gone through that draft class more than enough. Now it's one season. And as I've said, I'll continue to say, I'm not quitting on anybody from that draft class last year. I always give a rookie class at least 2 seasons to figure things out. So I'm going to be a little bit more patient than a lot of other people regarding last year's draft class. But right now, if you had to grade the draft from last year, I don't think anybody gives Eliot Wolf a passing grade. Drake May was fantastic in what he did, given the circumstances. You feel pretty good about him. He's not a guarantee, but you feel good about him. And then we know the rest of the draft and how it unfolded. All right, I have more thoughts about all this coming up in a minute. Don't forget to do a couple of things to help us out here on the live stream. If you're watching, listening on demand, you can help us out as well. Click that thumbs up button on the YouTube channel. The likes help us an awful lot. More likes, more eyeballs. Let's continue to take advantage of that algorithm. So don't forget to like the podcast. Don't forget to throw a comment in. And don't forget to subscribe. That next goal, 6,600 subscribers by the first round of the draft, 8 nights away. Let's hit that mark. We surpassed the original goal of 6,500 because all of you. I appreciate you so much. And, of course, Spotify, Apple Pod friends, rate, review, leave some comments over there as well. 5-star reviews always help us, and you can follow and also jump over here to YouTube and subscribe. All right, back to my thoughts about this trio, this triumvirate within the Patriots front office and personnel department. We're talking Mike Vrabel, Ryan Cowden, Eliot Wolf, and whether or not we trust or believe in the idea that they are going to thrive in next weekend's draft. I'm not there. I can't trust them. They have to earn my trust. We just went through the resume. Here's something else that I want to talk about. It's the first time that they've worked together. These three guys have never worked collectively as a unit during a draft. And I understand that Vrabel has said that, oh, everything's gone great. I'm sure Eliot Wolf said, oh, everything's gone great and everybody's getting along. And that could be true. Everybody could be getting along. But you don't really know how people are going to react in certain situations until you go through those situations, personally or professionally. How many people have you worked with that you thought one way about them, and then a big event happened, a big job had to be done, and then all of a sudden during that big event or working through that big job, you found yourself feeling completely different about that person you were working with or those people that you were working with? You don't really know until you get there. Vrabel talked about running these draft night simulations yesterday during the press conference. You can simulate things all you want, but when you're in that room and you're having these conversations and people are being passionate about certain things, you don't know how somebody's going to react. So the first time that these guys are working collectively during a draft is going to be telling. Maybe it'll be smooth. No big deal. Man, it was easy. We got in that room. We worked together. You've had that experience, hopefully, at work, right? You've never really truly worked with somebody, and then you work with them through a tough project, and you say to yourself, that actually went much better than I even anticipated it going. We were finishing each other's sentences. I love working with that guy. I love working with that woman. So maybe that's what'll happen next week. We have no idea. Maybe Wolf and Cowden and Vrabel will all get into the room together, and by the end of the draft, they'll be holding hands like the Ya-Ya Brotherhood, singing in unison about how they just destroyed the 2025 NFL draft. But until they go through a draft, I have no idea how they're going to work as a collective unit. I have no clue. You don't know. I don't know. And here's the thing. They don't even know. They can try to sell us, but they don't know. Not with 100% certainty. How could you? You've never done it before. It's the first time also that everyone is using this specific grading system. Mike Vrabel has an understanding of the grading system. Cowden has an understanding of the grading system. Eliot Wolf obviously knows everything about this grading system because he pulled it from his Packers days. But remember, they were not able to use the grading system last year because all the scouts had used the prior grading system from Belichick. And they spent that entire college football season. They did all of the scouting reports through Belichick language, through the Belichick grading system. So they changed the grading system last year, but that was about kicking it forward. That was about this draft. It wasn't about last draft. As they say, the hay was in the barn. The hay was in the barn last year for all intents and purposes. So not only do you have these three guys working for the first time collectively during a draft, you also have Cowden and Vrabel learning the ins and outs about this grading system that they're using. And it's the first year that these scouts have used the grading system throughout the college football season. So there's a lot of new. There's a lot of unknowns. And when something is new, when something is unknown, it could end up awesome. It could end up not so awesome. And I can't tell you sitting here that it's going to end up awesome. I can't tell you it's going to end up terrible. I don't know. But the first time they're all using this grading system together, the first NFL draft, they're going to work together. And the Patriots in this situation, we've had this conversation, they can't mess up this draft. They cannot mess up this draft. If you mess up this draft, you're in so much trouble. And we've seen how bad drafts have impacted this franchise for years. You cannot swing and miss. If the 2024 class is what it is, if we don't see a big step up for Jalen Polk or Javon Baker, if Caden Wallace is never healthy, if last year's draft looks the same this year and moving forward, then you swung and missed outside of Drake May in that draft with the third pick in the draft, which means you had quality draft capital. This year, you have quality draft capital. You've got the fourth pick overall. You've got 4 picks in the top 77. You've got 5 picks in the top 105. You are in a position to draft multiple starters. You were in that position last year. If you come out of the 24 draft and this year's draft with Drake May and 1 or 2 other starters, that is catastrophic. That is how you get to where they are right now with the back-to-back 4-win seasons. They can't mess this draft up. They just can't. If you messed up last year and you mess up this year, we got a disaster on our hands because you're not ever going to get back to competing at a high level and being seen as a true contender until you start turning around your draft results consistently and building it the right way. Now, there could be one silver lining before we even get into the draft next weekend. There is one thing that could help the Patriots tremendously, and it's the history of these 3 guys and the connections that they have, especially at the top of the draft. You've got Tennessee, you've got Cleveland, you've got the Giants. Now think about the 3 guys who are at the top of the Patriots organization during this draft coming up. Where are they from? Vrabel and Cowden, of course, are from Tennessee. Now, Tennessee has gone through some changes over the past couple of years, as we know, but Vrabel knows many people in that building, and he probably understands the dynamics. Now, you're less concerned about Tennessee because Cam Ward's going number 1. But then you think about Cleveland and the Giants. Mike Vrabel was with the Browns last year. He knows a lot of people on that coaching staff. He knows a lot of people in that front office. And that should give the Patriots a decent idea as to what Cleveland is thinking, at least through the first couple of rounds. So that should help. Of course, you've got Eliot Wolf, who also had ties in Cleveland, and I'm sure he knows some old school people in the building. And then you've got Cowden. Cowden obviously worked for the Giants last year. So Cowden should have a pretty good idea of what Joe Schoen is thinking, because he worked through the entire season last year with Joe Schoen. He went through the quarterback issues. He went through losing Saquon Barkley and the owner watching Barkley win a freaking Super Bowl with their division rival. So that's a silver lining. Wolf, Vrabel, and Cowden, they have knowledge of how these other buildings that are drafting in the top 3, how they work, the way they think. So that should help them. That should give them some kind of intel. I don't think Joe Schoen's getting on the phone calling Ryan Cowden and telling him what they're going to do at 3. But Cowden should have a really good feel as to where they're leaning. He should look at it and say, well, last year I remember things that were being said, and I went through the scouting reports with all of our staff, and I know how they felt about Shedeur Sanders before the college football season ended. I know how they felt about Shedeur back in January. Now, they might have changed from January to today, but Cowden has that knowledge. Cowden has the inside knowledge of how the Giants feel about Sanders and Jackson Dart and Abdul Carter. And the combine could have changed it. The pro days could have changed it. The meetings and interviews could have changed those ideas. But Cowden has that base. Same thing could be said about Mike Vrabel and Cleveland. Vrabel worked with the front office in Cleveland a little bit, as well as being a consultant last year. And he dove into scouting reports. And he had conversations with Andrew Berry, who runs the program in Cleveland. So Vrabel should have inside knowledge of how the Browns feel about Travis Hunter and Carter and Shedeur Sanders. And Vrabel might be sitting there going, there's no way they draft Shedeur Sanders because I know Kevin Stefanski was not a fan. So that inside knowledge should help at least some early on in this draft through the first couple of rounds. That would be a good thing. All right. I've got some draft nuggets that I wanted to cover. There are some stories out there. I've got 3 things I want to talk about. I just mentioned Shedeur Sanders. I feel like that Al Pacino gif, You guys know what I'm talking about? The Al Pacino gif where it's like, just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. This Shedeur Sanders New York Giants thing, I feel like Al Pacino. As soon as I feel like I'm completely out, they find a way to pull me back in. And I just can't run away from this damn thing. So now Shedeur Sanders is having a private workout with the Giants tomorrow. They're flying out to Colorado. I don't know if they're out there yet or they're on their way to being there. I don't know. And Todd McShay on his podcast this week said, don't close the book on Shedeur going to the Giants at number 3. Don't close the book. Mike Tannenbaum saw that the Giants were going out there to hold a workout with about a week left until the draft with Shedeur Sanders, and he went out there and he posted, when this happened so late in the process, either there's a big disagreement in their building on their evaluation or they're reacting to new information. That's possible. I've said this from the beginning. It's possible that the Giants draft Shedeur Sanders. Ownership needs a future at quarterback. Russell Wilson is not that future. Jameis Winston is not that future. It is entirely believable. It is entirely reasonable to believe that John Mara might put some pressure on the front office to ultimately pull the trigger and draft the future at quarterback with that 3rd pick overall. We've gone through the Joe Schoen, Brian Daboll, the job security, the pressure that they have to make this thing work. And I am not wholly confident that they believe Russell Wilson and or Jameis Winston are the true answers to their quarterback prayers. I think it would be crazy if they thought that those guys were the answers to their quarterback prayers. And I know that Joe Schoen went out there and he said, drafting a quarterback is not mandatory, and he talked up the room. I don't care. I don't care what any of these guys say. I don't care. Joe Schoen's not going to go out there and tip his hand that he's drafting Shedeur Sanders 3rd. He's not going to do that. So I leave the door open. I have not closed that door. Now, I lean towards that it's unlikely they draft Shedeur Sanders at number 3. I don't think that's what happens. If somebody said, bet your house on it, I'd say, no, thank you. I'm not betting my house on Shedeur going 3rd, but I think it's a possibility. I think that is still a possibility that exists. But I think it's unlikely. I don't think the Giants would turn down Abdul Carter. Now, maybe I'm wrong. We'll talk about Carter in a minute or two and some rumors that are going around and the idea that he might be slipping. He might be slipping a little bit in this draft. But I still just can't see the Giants turning down Abdul Carter at 3 and drafting Sanders. I can't see it. Over the past couple of weeks, the information that's come in, I just can't see it. It's possible, but I don't think it's probable. The other piece of information that is critical that we have found out over the past couple of days is that the Giants are not only working out Shedeur Sanders. Now, I would feel more confident that Sanders at 3 is a possibility or probability or more probable, more possible. I would feel better about that if Shedeur was the only quarterback that the Giants are going out to meet, but he's not. The Giants are circling the wagons, and they're going to work out all these quarterbacks. They're working out 4 guys right before the draft. So it's Sanders today. Then they're going to work out Tyler Shuck, who's the Louisville quarterback. They're going to work out Jalen Milroe, Alabama quarterback. And they're going to work out Kyle McCord, who is, of course, the Syracuse quarterback, who used to be the quarterback at Ohio State. So if Sanders was the only guy the Giants were working out 8 days before the draft, 7 days before the draft, I'd feel more confident that he's a possible pick at number 3. But the fact that they're also going out there to look at Shuck and Milroe and McCord, that tells me that they're just looking. They're just looking at these quarterbacks, trying to get all the information that they can get before they walk into that draft room on Thursday night. So I think it's possible. I still think it's possible, but I would not call it probable. All right, let's get to Abdul Carter. Is there slippage going on? Is there a little bit of slippage with Carter? Karen Garigian at Mass Live wrote this yesterday. Rumor has it Carter's draft stock is dropping. Or is it? Once considered a lock to go in the top 3, there appears to be some smoke circulating about the Penn State pass rusher's makeup, not to mention the quote-unquote stress reaction foot injury that was discovered at the NFL's scouting combine. Garigian writes, usually when there's smoke, there's fire. But being in the home stretch ahead of the draft, this is also known as lying season. Everything should be taken with a grain of salt. Exactly. You know, I talk about these things, but when we talk about these things, it doesn't necessarily believe that I mean that all of it's going to happen. We talk about the news. We talk about reports. We talk about rumors. We talk about mock drafts. We talk about what the Patriots might do, what they might not do. It's fun. I love doing this kind of stuff, but it doesn't guarantee anything. And we know, as Garigian wrote, and I've said this forever, it's lying season. There's a bunch of smoke screens. There's all sorts of smoke screens all over the place. The closer you get to the draft, the more those smoke screens are being thrown out there. So maybe Carter's stock is dropping. Maybe Carter is going to fall to the Patriots at 4. Maybe the Patriots pass on Carter and say thanks, but no thanks. We heard some really bad things. I know he got into it with a tow truck driver last March. Pulled him out of the truck. And I know multiple people who have written or told me that he's not a good guy. So maybe there is enough cracks there with Carter in his character and his makeup that he is falling down the board. But maybe there's not. There are a lot of reasons why teams are trying to mislead other teams. So I certainly could believe that Carter, there's a lot of questions with Carter, and people might be wondering if he's worth the quote-unquote risk of taking in the top 3, and maybe, just maybe, he is starting to slide in some people's eyes. I think there's a chance. I agree with Todd McShay. I tweeted this at Nick C Radio. If you want to follow me, I tweeted this the other day. McShay's podcast. He brought this up, and I've said this in prior podcasts when guys take certain trips. You're not wasting your time. I don't think Abdul Carter flew up here to Foxborough and had the visit on Monday to just simply waste his time. I don't think his agent is going to allow Carter on the plane to fly up to New England to go through the meeting, to go to a dinner. I don't think he's going to have his client do that unless he believes there's a chance that Carter could be there at 4. There's a reason why Abdul Carter took only 4 visits. He didn't take 3. He took 4. Now, whether that's because the agent believes Shedeur Sanders is going in the top 3, or he knows that the Browns and or the Giants might not be in love with his client as a prospect. Maybe he's gotten some things back from those 2 teams that make him feel a little shaky about telling his client that he's a guaranteed top 3 pick. But there is a reason, if not multiple reasons, why Abdul Carter's agent put Carter on that plane to take a visit in New England 10 or 11 days before the draft. There is a reason for that. It could be the red flags popping up. It could be happenstance allows Carter to drop to 4, but there is a reason. Abdul is not wasting his time. Now, I'll say it one more time to make it clear. I feel like Abdul Carter's going in the top 3. I don't think Carter will be a Patriot. But I do think that all the smoke, all the talk about the character concerns and maybe him slipping, I do think those rumors and conversations, you got to give them a little bit more credence, because the fact that he took the trip here to Foxborough and the fact that he's open to talking to the team that's drafting 4th. Because if it was a guarantee that he's going top 3, he ain't taking this trip. Maybe the agent thinks the Patriots are going to try to trade up. Maybe the agent believes that Vrabel's going to love Carter and they'll try to trade up into the top 3 to draft Carter. But there's a reason, if not multiple reasons. I don't think Abdul Carter was like, you know where I want to go? You know where I have to be on April 14th? like 10, 11 days before the draft, you know where I have to be? I've got to go to Foxborough, Massachusetts. I've always wanted to check out Foxborough in April. No, that's not happening. So there's a reason why he was here on Monday. And we'll see. We'll see what happens on draft night. All right. One other thing I wanted to talk about was the names of the green room guys have come out. The green room names have been announced. There are going to be 17 players in the green room during the first round of the draft. Those names are Tyler Booker, Jahad Campbell, Will Campbell, Carter, Jackson Dart, Matthew Golden, Mason Graham, Travis Hunter, Ashton Genty, Will Johnson, Tet McMillan, Jalen Milroe, Josh Simmons, Malachi Starks, Shamar Stewart, Cam Ward, Mykel Williams. Those are the 17 players that will be in the green room during the first round of the NFL draft, 8 nights from tonight. 17 guys. Now, if you're wondering, Tyler Warren apparently turned down an invitation. But here's how I would break these guys up out of those 17 names. The guys who could be waiting a long time. We always wonder about that. Who could be in the green room waiting with the cameras in their face? Who could end up waiting the longest on draft night? I think Tyler Booker might be one of those guys. Out of those 17 names, I could see Tyler Booker maybe being drafted in the late teens, early to mid-20s. So Booker could have a long wait. Malachi Starks is interesting. Before the college football season, Malachi Starks, I think, was seen as pretty much a guarantee to go in the top 10, 15. That's not the case anymore. So we'll see how long Starks is in that draft room. Mykel Williams is fascinating. I hope we get a chance to talk about him before the draft. I know that it's been reported the Patriots, there are people in the building that love Mykel Williams. Mykel Williams, I don't think is anywhere near being in the conversation at 4 right now. But how long does he wait? Could Mykel Williams get drafted towards the tail end of the top 10? Does he fall into the teens? Does he fall into the late teens? Mykel Williams, interesting name. Josh Simmons. We'll see how teams truly feel about that injury, the torn patella tendon. And we'll see how teams feel about Josh Simmons and his football character. It's been reported that, it's been leaked. People have talked about Josh Simmons. His football character isn't the best. So we'll see, because he's got tons of potential, tons of raw talent, great athleticism. Is Simmons sitting there until the middle to late of the first round? So those are the possible long waits. Booker, Starks, Williams, Simmons. I'd also put Jalen Milroe. I don't even know if Milroe is going to be drafted in the first round. Before his name came out and he was known to be in the green room, a lot of people were talking about Jalen Milroe being maybe a second, third round pick. I don't know if Milroe gets drafted. Then you got the unknowns. These are the unknowns. I have no idea where these guys are going to get drafted. Jackson Dart. There are people trying to sell me on the idea that Jackson Dart goes in like the top 10. There are other people who believe Dart might not go until the second round. There are some people that believe he could go to the Pittsburgh Steelers at 21, but that's only if Shedeur Sanders isn't there. So Jackson Dart, I have no idea. Matthew Golden. He's another one. Does Golden leapfrog Tet McMillan? Is Matthew Golden drafted in the top 10 to 15? Or does he fall into the 20s? Fascinating to watch. Will Johnson is interesting. Will Johnson was seen as the best cornerback in the country at Michigan. Then he had an injury, and he recently had a pro day. His pro day numbers weren't very good. So I don't know where Will Johnson is going to go. If it was early in the college football season, you would have had Will Johnson in the top 10. I saw some mock drafts months ago having Johnson going to the Patriots at 4. But he might drop. Shamar Stewart, incredible athlete. Not very productive when you look at the sacks. There are some questions about whether or not he truly wants to work. He skipped his, combine workouts. He skipped his pro day workouts. Tony Pauline at Sportskeeda said that rubbed some teams the wrong way. So Shamar Stewart has the athletic profile to go in the top 10, but does he fall to the 20s? And Tet McMillan. If you go back 3 weeks to a month ago, people would make you believe that Tet was going to go to the Patriots at 4, or at least he was in the conversation at 4. Then it was Tet could fall to the latter part of the top 10. Burt Breer's right in that Tet could fall somewhere to the late teens, all the way down to like 20 to 22. Does Matthew Golden leapfrog Tet? No idea. No idea. The people that are not going to wait long in the green room, I don't believe Will Campbell will be waiting very long in that green room. I think he will be gone. He will be gone in the top 5 to 10. Probably top 5, wink, wink. Jahad Campbell, I don't think is going to wait too long. I don't think Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter or Cam Ward. Cam Ward's going to go number 1. I don't think Mason Graham is going to have to wait too long, and I don't think Ashton Genty is going to have to wait too long. So I think those guys get off the board in the top 10. Guys that aren't there, again, Warren said thanks, but no thanks to the invite. Colston Loveland is not there, tight end. That's interesting. Jalen Walker is not there. Armand Membu is not in the green room. So no Membu, no Walker, no Loveland. That could be a personal situation, deciding to spend the draft with their families. So I don't want to read too much into it. Warren was invited. So Loveland, Walker, Membu not going to be there. But those are the 17 names. 8 nights away. Help us out. Don't forget to click that thumbs up as you watch. We're trying to get to 6,600 subscribers by the first round of the draft. You can help us out by clicking that thumbs up button. Take advantage of the algorithm. Don't forget to throw a comment in. Like Nunya says, I don't trust QBs with cool names. Patriots loco. I've seen this. Rumors that Sean McVay loves Jackson Dart. I've seen this. There's a lot of late Jackson Dart love that's popping up. So I love the comments, all of you. So don't forget to like. Don't forget to comment. Don't forget to subscribe. Let's hit that 6,600 number before we get to the first round of the draft. We got to our first goal of 6,500. So don't forget to do that. Apple Pods, Spotify, rate, review, follow, help us out. And I'll say it again. I appreciate every single one of you. We'll be going live again on Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Until then, be well.